welcome to Talking Down the Highway, a Beach Boys podcast presented by Strange Currencies Music. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Remy.
Hey, Remy.
Wait a minute.
Hey, whoa. How'd I get back here?
Where's...
I was just home like 2 seconds ago.
So,
Wait.
So here's the thing, folks.
Where's...
I'm a little worried.
Where's Tim?
I am a little concerned. I'm not gonna lie.
Did he fall down a well again?
It's been a week. Like we seriously, we just took a week between episodes. We do not record 2 episodes on the same day and get together once every 2 weeks. We record every week.
Hey, can we talk about how crazy last week was?
This past week was like
the meteor strikes, the
stuff that we know definitively had not happened when we recorded this podcast.
The entire eastern seaboard is just gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's early Sunday, February 4th. Last time we recorded, so that makes that today is like what?
February
Sunday,
11th?
February 11th. Or maybe
no
Saturday, February 10th. So we don't know any of the stuff that happens over the course of the next, 7 days. Like, I mean, wait, we know all of that stuff. Sorry, is what I mean. Like, how did Taylor Swift
been a long
end up
week.
winning Album of the Year for the Grammys for an album that even her fans were like,
Yeah. Right.
It's like that time that Beck won for an album that we were like,
You're gonna the Swifties are gonna find this. They find it all.
You all
good.
been
That means
to,
they'll listen to our podcast.
to Grammys.
We would go from 1.7 billion listeners to like 40.7 billion listeners, even though there's only like 8 billion people on the planet.
I forgot there's a Swiftie in the room right now.
Hey, I'm not hating. I don't hate.
Okay. But be honest. Even Swifties are not into Midnights, right?
Yeah, it's
like the one that lives in my house most of the year was like,
okay.
It's not that great.
It's okay.
And
it's good.
And it's not the best album that came out in the Grammy eligible year.
Right.
But it'll probably win. I mean, sorry, it totally won because we're recording this a week later and we still haven't heard from Tim, which I'm a little concerned about. I don't know why I'm talking about Taylor Swift right now when I'm really worried about where Tim is.
We're deflecting because we're just so worried about Tim. And if we think about it too much, so we should talk about the Beach Boys before we get to.
Well, we know Tim's dad listens to the podcast, so let us know where is Tim?
Yeah,
have you heard from him?
All I know is I left after we
Taylor Swift. Have you heard from Tim?
All I know is I left after we recorded 2020. I ended up wearing my Lebowski sweater way too much. Thanks.
That's right. We didn't even talk about the fact that you were wearing a Lebowski sweater for last week's episode.
Well, Al inspired me.
We had to tear through. I
had this really weird dream where I was in like this room and Tim was there and he was talking backwards. I think I know what happens.
Oh,
is he wrapped in plastic?
I hope he's not wrapped in plastic.
Well, since then, I have taken off my Lebowski sweater.
You don't want to wear the same thing for a week.
I've been listening. I've been listening to.
And Glenn, don't hit the microphone. That just made a really ugly sound that our listeners are going to have to hear.
I've been listening to lots of convicted murderers play music now after our discussion. There are quite a
Did you just say that Taylor Swift is a convicted murderer?
Hey, stop. Slow down.
Glenn, back up.
I'm just saying.
Not cool.
Notorious Philadelphia Phillies fan Taylor Swift.
I just wanted to reiterate that there are not a ton of musicians who are also convicted murderers, and we discovered there were 4 of them on the 2020 album. I since then have gone and done more research.
You did a convicted murderers playlist?
I did. Back off. And did the Beach Boys ever cover Telstar?
No, because Joe Meek.
Yeah, because Joe Meek killed
his landlady.
Killed his landlady.
Yeah.
Oh. Did they ever do Mustang Sally? That sounds like a song the Beach Boys would have done. Never did Mustang Sally?
Mm-mm.
Because Wilson Pickett.
Wilson Pickett was a murderer?
I mean, he killed drunk driving, killed an 86-year-old man.
Yeah, it's not technically murder, though, isn't it?
It's vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah,
I don't know. In 1972, this
Harry
French
Styles
singer,
did that.
Claudine Longet, covered God Only Knows.
Yeah, killed her husband, right?
Killed your boyfriend.
Okay.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. There's not a ton of them, and they're all it feels like they're all connected to the Beach Boys. That's weird. I don't know what's going on here. Is there something there?
I want to find just a good Beach Boys cover playlist I'm not a huge covers person, but
I can
sometimes
help you. I've got a playlist for that.
like very niche ones.
Back
This is
up.
off topic,
Back
but
off,
like
Matt.
I gotta find my my Elliott Smith covers Beatles playlist equivalent for the Beach Boys. That'll all just actually be the Big Star like unfinished cover of "Don't Worry, Baby." Probably.
I have a whole Beach Boys or like Pet Sounds cover album.
Yep.
There is like a weird. Oh wait, yeah, you guys were talking about that. The
it's
weird
fine.
like. Was it Japanese cover album of Pet
No,
Sounds?
that was something else.
Oh, that had like Thurston Moore on it and stuff.
There's some good Beach Boys covers out there though. We've mentioned on the show before Frank Black's "Hang On to Your Ego," which is great, and "Raining Sound." They do
Waiting for the day.
"Waiting for the Day." Exactly.
I mean, I
that's
just
a good version.
I just
They Might Be
mentioned them.
Giants do "Caroline No."
Oh, they do. Yeah. I just mentioned
there's a
it,
couple of pretty
like-
bad God Only Knows out there. I'm not gonna lie. Like I love
yeah.
David Bowie
I like
and I
Bowie's.
love Daniel
It's
Johnston,
fine.
but I think both of their covers of God Only Knows are like
That Full House guy did a cover of
Forever. Yeah,
Forever.
Great. That's Jesse and the Rippers, one of my favorite bands. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning again that unfinished Big Star cover of "Don't Worry, Baby" is still amazing, even though it's unfinished. I have a big soft spot for unfinished covers. Which I didn't talk about the one in the 2020 episode.
We ran through a lot of stuff really quickly on
Yeah.
the 2020 episode because we got like to the end of it way faster than it felt like we should have. In fact, I think I've got a couple of notes that Rip Tim, had left really quickly.
Corrections.
He didn't
Corrections, yeah.
give me. Yeah, so hold on. First off, he had just referred to the album as overall a big step backwards. With Our Prayer, he said, "Give me a break with this." Cabin Essence, he said, "It's great, but I really don't think it works as a standalone song." Never Learn Not to Love, he said, "It's good. Okay." Manson's version is shit. This is a whole new song. A highlight of the album, best production. Oh.
Yeah, I would agree. I would
but-
agree that Manson, his contribution is, I will admit, is probably more legitimate to Dennis's final produced version than anything that Mike Love has contributed to
Yeah,
a Brian Wilson
and that's
track.
the thing is like there for a long time there were people who didn't even believe the Manson connection to it.
The lyrics
but
are
there
like
is-
the same,
But there is a
but it's a
literal recording.
totally different
There's
song.
literal recordings of
Yeah.
him playing it. So
And-
like,
but
I
also
this
it's-
is gonna sound weird, but I trust Manson on that one that he wrote that song. Like,
more so than Mike Love. Yeah.
And hold on, there's a whole thing. Like Tim sent me all these notes before his untimely passing. He sent a whole picture of a whole page of a book.
Oh,
I'm really worried about Tim.
Is this is there like a clue to what happened to him?
So Tim, he says, and please share this 2020 era anecdote from the Peter Ames Carlin Bryan biography, Catch a Wave. I am worried. Like Tim has never read a book. Tim only utilizes Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But he sent me that. Let's read this page and see maybe if we can get some clues
Okay.
into what might have happened to Tim. So, one afternoon in early 1969, the group was busy working on a track in the studio at Brian's house when he came rushing in through the bright blue, hand-painted door, still in his pajamas and holding a sheet of paper. "I've got a great idea," he cried, waving the just-typed document in the air. Brian explained that he was holding a 5-way agreement to declare that from this day forward, the group would be known not as the Beach Boys, but merely as the Beach. "We're not boys anymore, right? We're men. So why do we want to call ourselves Beach Boys? All we've got to do is sign this and we'll change it for good. Look, I already signed it myself." Brian held the paper in front of his face, pointing to the fresh ink on the line next to his name.
Wow.
I don't like it, but I don't hate it. I kind of love it.
The Beach.
The Beach. I mean, it makes sense. I think that would. They could pull that
There's
off.
there's another paragraph. I don't know if I'm also supposed to read this part, and I can't ask Tim because rip. But it says whether Brian's impulse to create a new identity for the band stemmed from his reading of the marketplace or from a desire to disassociate himself from the past isn't quite clear. but he was obviously fired up about his idea and just as obviously deflated when the other guys brushed it off without much of a thought. They all just kind of shrugged and said, come on, Brian, we don't want to do that. That's how the public knows us, man, recording engineer Stephen Desper remembers. And that was it. He put the paper on the piano, and it stayed there until I picked it up and took it away.
Well.
Sad.
Well, speaking of...
Those are essentially like Tim's last words.
Wow.
that
we should be talking about the beach.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some royalty-free music in which Tim features. And I would like for all of you, over the course of this little short break, to hold close to you your dearest memories of our beloved departed friend, Tim. We'll be right back. And we are back on Talking Down the Highway, a Beach Boys podcast, presented by Strange Currencies Music. Rip Tim.
Rip Tim.
This week, we are here to talk about the Beach Boys' 1970 LP, Live in London. Wait, no. Don't tell me what to do, Beach Boys. Look, I love London. It is objectively like the coolest city I've ever been to. But I'm not going to live there just because y'all tell me to do it.
Should we tell him?
Matt.
Should we tell him?
What?
Your sense of humor is on par with Mike Love.
Yeah, it's not great.
Not great.
It sounds like we should have an episode of something.
I don't know.
We should jump right in. It sounds like an episode.
It's live in London.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, live in London. Yeah.
That makes a bit more sense. I guess.
Also,
it kind of totally recontextualizes the whole album.
Oh my
also,
gosh.
I just had to open up with a really, really, really dumb, bad attempt at humor because you know what? Remy's right. It's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains. That's right. It's Heroes and Villains. We're discussing heroes and the villains, whatever it is we happen to be talking about this week. And this week we are talking about the Beach Boys' 1970 LP, Live in London. They're live. And they're in London. They're up to some shenanigans. There's some funny stuff going on here. First off, though, we got to get to the hero.
Carl?
Carl?
Yeah.
He has some pretty good vocal parts on
He's some really good vocal parts. He's like says thank you constantly. Like he's just so like glad to be there.
But Dennis is front and center on the drums on the cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dennis does pretty well on this album. I was generally kind of impressed with his performances.
Dennis brings the beat in a way that like I don't know, his drumming, if you compare his drumming to like that first live album you guys talked about, like it's so much better on this. It's crazy how much better he got.
Yeah, there's some heft to these arrangements and these versions that I could put Dennis as a hero.
No. My vote for hero goes to the brass section.
Oh,
I'm a big fan of the brass section.
Who is uncredited.
Uncredited brass section. We'll talk about that.
They're good. They're good.
Always credit your musicians and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the Beatles could have learned from that too.
Yeah.
All right, and the villain,
Matt, for that horrible attempt at a Mike Love level pun.
The pun was made because, good God, like, all right, we're gonna get into this album specifically, and we're gonna rate it as we always do. But the cloud that hangs over this whole record are just horrible Mike Love attempts at humor.
What's the opposite of an exclamation mark? Ugh.
An upside down exclamation mark
on it.
As you might see. Hold on.
Oh no.
As you might remember from a little album called días de verano y también nostalgias.
Oh,
It
is.
It is reverberating in my headphones for a little bit there. You got the natural reverb in the room.
Mike Love.
We need a little bit of
Is-
extra percussion for some ambiance when we do that.
Man.
Bust out the. We got a vibra slap over there.
Timbale
Every time we
or
say
something, yeah.
sus noches, we gotta.
Yeah.
Well, now that I got a virus slap.
Now I gotta find it.
Anyway.
Yeah, no,
It's in
Mike
that
Love
crate
is
right there.
clearly the villain.
He is
of this.
so,
It's so
in
bad.
his
It's
element,
so
which
bad.
Literally
when Mike
ruins
is
this.
in his element, he is so obnoxiously stupid. It's so bad.
It ruins what would otherwise be a really pretty good live album. Like
It's pretty solid.
We'll
Yeah.
get to it when we get to the songs, but he quite literally ruins some of these by just talking in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
Like,
It's one thing when it's dumb jokes in between songs, but when he's like in the middle of songs and he just starts saying stupid
but
shit.
it's so much worse than that. It's just like weird and pervy and like he is probably like in a room that is full of a
Did you
lot
sit
of
on a
like
pin cushion?
underage like
Are you in an uncomfortable
kids
seat?
and just oh my god,
Yeah.
it's so.
We're gonna take a little bit of London home with us. We'll be ringing it out of our
Or
songs.
they're talking about the this is gonna be a cappella like. And
In
the
the
acapella means in the nude. I hate it. It reminds me of someone very specific.
I know exactly who you're talking about. We will not say his name.
I will
for
not
the
say it.
purpose of professionalism,
I will
but
not
I
say
agree
it.
with you 100%. Glenn. Anyway,
does
no,
sound like
like
It
Mike,
does not sound like Glenn at all. It does not.
There's another.
Glenn.
So
No.
yeah, this
Does not sound like you.
This album is probably single-handedly why I have not and likely will not ever see the touring band that is known as "quote unquote" the Beach Boys.
This is the reason, not the fact that it's
Well-
not really the Beach Boys, and not the fact that you'd be giving money directly to Mike Love.
Well, so I do.
and taking it out of the hands of Brian Wilson.
Yes,
One of my-
because part of
you wants to go see him so you can flip his hat off of his head.
yes, that as well. But
Fair
part of-
enough, fair
but-
enough.
But Brian still gets royalties when his songs that he's written have played. I would love to go and see. I would go. I would
We all
love
know
to
Mike
go.
wrote those songs.
I would love to go and experience, these Beach Boys, some of these Beach Boys songs live. But I don't think
Go see
I
Brian.
could not stomach. I could not stomach Mike Love's
God, no.
banter.
I have
Like,
heard that.
it's so painful.
He's
I have
basically
heard-
resorted to make a lot of like transphobic jokes and stuff.
Well,
on
yeah, there's
stage
that. But I mean, I had a friend of mine back home who saw them at the Oregon State Fair, and he said that they were a good show. Like the band was decent and stuff. It's just it's the transphobic remarks, the whole like, we
can't call this
can't call it
surfer girl
surfer girl
anymore.
anymore. Like it's not surprising, but it's also like it's frustrating. It's a little heartwarming to know that he's still doing that shit 50 years later. Like, you know what? Like, it's not heartwarming. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, right.
It's
I was like, what?
well, I was
take.
going to make some sort of sarcastic remark, but I can't make a sarcastic remark anymore.
Yeah, the subtlety is lost.
It's
sometimes
dead.
On,
Yeah, don't go see the quote unquote Beach Boys.
Don't
Yeah.
Go see Brian or buy a record or whatever, but don't support
So,
this
and that's
continuing touring farce that is known as the Beach Boys.
to speak to the context of what's going on here. Brian is not a part of this album. He does not appear live on this album. The boys are in London, not the beach. The boys are in London, and they are Brianless. So
The beach is at home. The boys are in London.
correct. There it is.
Yes,
and they. I don't know. Do they pick up? Is this an official touring band, or are there some studio musicians that they've picked up backlogged in London? Because there's quite a bit of brass on here. There's some cello on some parts that like there's got to be some sort of orchestrated something.
I'm going to have to look it all up on der Wikipedia because there's literally nothing in the album that says who any of these folks
It's
are.
uncredited
because,
on
again,
Wikipedia as
they're
well.
all uncredited. I'm pretty sure Daryl Dragon is part
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
Yes.
of the tournament, which...
The captain and Tennille.
he's the captain of Captain Tennille. Is Dragon really his last name?
I don't know.
I do know that is an actual existent last name. My brothers and I used to play roller hockey with some dude named what was it? Jerry Dragon or something like that. And this dude like drove around in a like convertible Trans Am, and he'd like pull up busting like 80s butt metal and stuff in the parking lot, and like totally what you would expect of a guy whose last name was Dragon. So it is like an actual last name. So
Birth name Daryl Frank Dragon.
Fuck yeah.
That's badass.
I want to
Wow.
say
Dragon.
Dragon.
Mike Wazowski plays percussion on this. Oh, sorry, Mike Kowalski.
Yeah.
I thought it was that little green guy with one eye.
I know.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're like very slowly getting to it, because we clearly are not going to have as much to talk about with this record as some of the others. We've already talked about like the big talking point and the fact that Mike Love is fucking obnoxious. But you know what? It sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound and Vision. That's right. It's Sound and Vision, where we discuss all things aesthetic, using the scale provided to us by David Jones, who later became known as
Bowie.
David Bowie.
Are we just like stretching this out?
I'm trying to
like
stretch it out.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
And it's also a little
No.
bit disorienting because usually when I say it's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains or time for an episode of Sound and Vision, usually Tim's like, what?
Oh?
Like it's like his calling
sad.
card, you know?
Aw.
And rip Tim.
Well, I
I will have to sample one of our early episodes in the future and have him, yeah. But anyway, so yes, we discuss all things aesthetic using the scale provided to us by David Bowie. If we really like something, Glenn, we call it a...
Low?
That's right, David Bowie's masterpiece. And if we don't like something, Remy, we call it a...
Never Let Me Down.
In which David Bowie let us down. His worst album.
Whoa.
Huh?
Let's dance. Let's dance. It's okay.
Was Tim a fan of Tim the Toolman Taylor? Oh, yeah, and if it's in the middle,
Let's dance.
if it's in, be comfortable in middle ground.
That joke
Dance.
was a let's
Hey,
dance.
Can
David
I-
Bowie's okayest album.
Can I just say on Let's Dance? I know it's been said before,
Bangers
but I
up
just
front.
wanted to say, Modern Love,
It's fucking great.
one of the best songs ever.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That I've said it before, that circular chorus is a
that
thing
might
of beauty.
be a top 5 Bowie song. It's so good, and the performance of it, like that is peak Bowie voice right there.
So aesthetically, are we talking about the look of the Beach Boys in 1970? Are we talking about
We're talking about the album cover.
the album cover?
And
Okay.
the problem is
Which
here,
album
apparently there are
cover?
multiple album covers, because if
There
you go...
are.
You see
Right.
the third? Did you see the third one that when it was
They're
just
pretty
titled
bad, the
Beach
ones-
Boys '69?
So there's a few.
so
So,
bad.
like, if you go to rate your music, there's all kinds of different stuff. The primary on rate your music is apparently the British cover, which is essentially the back cover of 2020, which we talked about last week. The blurry photo of 5 Beach Boys, none of which are Brian Wilson. There's this googly-eyed picture of Mike Love at the top of it, and it's blurry and goofy and whatever.
I wonder what kind of camera, if that's just long exposure, because like I am a really big fan of old, like weird Victorian photos where people are like, "Oh, there's a ghost in that," but you can tell it's just someone who moved.
Yeah.
This is what that looks like, and I love it
People are
so
dumb.
much.
People are really dumb.
I love this photo so much.
It's fine. So Remy also mentioned the one. So they reissued this in 1976, just calling it Beach Boys '69. There's like a newspaper thing at the top
horrible
of it.
title.
London Telegraph.
Oh, it's so bad.
Beach Boys '69. Nice.
But
But they're like
did you
these
notice?
tour snapshots. There's a pretty kick-ass picture of Stonehenge, though, which looks like my own picture of Stonehenge that I took when I was there.
There's the Brian Wish You Were Here.
Postcard.
Let's see this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, who? Oh,
They all just signed it.
Alan. Oh, he signed it. Alan. Ooh.
Hold on a minute. Yeah, that's right. You can call me Al.
I don't know why, but I always assumed you would play the music and we'd hear the music. Sorry if I just broke that podcast magic right
Do
there.
not break the fourth wall, Remy. Anyway, yes, no, that totally happens in real time. I don't add it in after the fact. But Al, should we have been calling you Alan all along? Like you signed this postcard as Alan. Let us know. Call me Al. Or Alan.
Who calls him Alan?
Hey,
I didn't know that we were using
a
our
family
Christian names here.
You can call me Alan. Please do. All right.
can
There's
call
another
me
one
Alan.
that's just like the Beach Boys live. This looks like it was the German cover. It's pretty terrible. I know they didn't have Photoshop in 1970 when they put this out, but it's like some bad Photoshop. It's got some animals on it, kind of like our animal friends on the Smiley Smile cover, which they totally ripped off from us.
I kind of dig that.
It's fine. It's whatever. But the one that I'm actually really here to talk about is the what I always thought was just the standard, the one that I've got here on one vinyl LP, the Beach Boys live in London. You got a picture of them that takes up about 3/4 of the front.
And I will say, Dennis is front and center. I like that.
I kind of just like that stage setup
I
where
do.
Dennis
Bruce, I do.
is like essentially drumming on the front line, which is
Right.
kind of cool.
We were just kind of talking about him, but Bruce kind of looks like John Dwyer in that. It's a little weird.
He's got a giant fucking head, and some pretty high-waisted jeans. Carl just being, the badass that he is. You got Al, or Alan, perhaps, over there on far side. He's doing his thing. And you got this weird scarecrow that they brought up on stage for some reason. That's
Stuck a
holding
hat on him.
holding a little concertina. Like he's really actually playing that. You can notice that it's not even mic'd at all, but he's just holding it so it looks
It's
like
not
he's
even
doing
what?
something. But then bizarrely, this is the thing that just strikes me about this particular image is you open it up and it reveals a little bit more of it, but it's the fucking cover shot of Pet Sounds for some reason.
I like it. I don't know why.
Turn sideways.
Turn
Love it
sideways.
so much.
And Dennis is still feeding a non-existent animal. Mike Love, even, that this is, 3-4 years earlier, is still bald as all fuck. And, Brian Wilson's actually, there. So
See, that's false
cool.
advertisement because that
But he's not on
implies
this
Brian's
album.
on the album.
Yeah.
And that's at first I thought Brian was going to be on it, and I was like, oh, sick.
So
So that's blatant false advertising,
It
much
is.
like the name Mike Love is blatant false advertising.
The worst example of false advertising ever. Nobody loves Mike Love. But I don't know. I mean,
So here's my take on the cover. They put the photo of Pet Sounds.
is
on
this
there.
a theory?
This is my theory.
My theory is Mike Love eats dog food.
Yes, that is.
Prove me wrong, Mike.
Right.
Prove me wrong.
My
theory
theory
is
is when you say Beach Boys Live, maybe people are tempted to think Mike's an idiot.
Yeah.
And
That's a fair
We're just
assessment.
playing old school rockers, and that's it. There's no artistry here. But they are also trying to say, hey, wait, this is a collection of songs where we tackle some of the Beach Boys' finer arrangements and compositions
They're
because
more nuanced material.
we get some more nuanced material on here in a live setting, which is intriguing. And so it's kind of like, hey, the Beach Boys now taking on Pet Sounds and post, surfing songs. Which, when you compare it to an earlier Beach Boys live album, this is a different set of songs. Mm-hmm. So
it's just bizarre.
It is.
Why do you have
for me
part of the cover of Pet Sounds?
For me, anytime you flash a bit of Pet Sounds, that gives me warm fuzzies. But it gives. Let's Dance. Let's Dance.
Yeah,
Let's Dance
it's
for
a Let's
that
Dance.
cover, but for the original British cover, that's it might be a low. The original British cover.
It's still Let's Dance. It's still Let's Dance. It's just a.
Or
Because
it might be-
all they did was recycle it from the back.
I'll give it a Let's Dance. I'll give the original British a Let's Dance, and I'll also give that weird German one a Let's Dance
with all the animals on it.
I like that because it kind of also looks like the Yellow Submarine artwork. A little
Where are
bit.
you guys finding this? I don't see this.
Rate
You're
Your
on
Music.
Rate Your Music, yeah.
And if there's something below Never Let Me Down, that's where that American one is. The
Yeah,
newspaper
brutal.
one?
Yeah.
that's
I have a
brutal.
picture of Stonehenge.
No, it's terrible.
Stonehenge.
Yeah, it's where the
Stonehenge.
it's where the banshees live, and they do live well. Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. That was a bad.
All right. Well, hey, let's take a break. We're going to come back and talk about the A side of the Beach Boys live in London.
Back, we are talking Beach Boys live in London, and here we are. We'd finished the studio album 2020, which we speculated was maybe their 20th release for Capitol, but I think maybe this is technically their last release for Capitol. Is that right?
Yes, because I don't think 2020 was released on Capitol.
So this one is. Perhaps their last. They're throwing something together. I know their last single for Capitol came from this. Wasn't even on the album, but
2020.
Actually, 2020. My
was.
bad. Sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot. My bad. I forgot.
I'm
Sunflowers.
literally looking at the cover down here because I left it down here for a week. I mean,
sorry,
but this
my
is
bad.
Capitol right on.
My bad.
But this is a concert.
Boo.
This is a concert in London. It was recorded in 68, the end of 68, came out internationally in 69 because...
No, it came out 70.
70 in London. They were actually still pretty big in London, right?
Oh, yeah.
At this time in the States...
Their reception, I was really surprised at how loud. They got when
everybody
they were
loved them.
introduced.
They were. It felt like peak Beach Boys.
Pet Sounds was big in London, or London. You kept saying London. Pet Sounds was big in the UK. I don't know how big the post Pet Sounds trilogy, post Smile trilogy would have been there, but Pet Sounds was a legitimate, celebrated record in England, and
I want to say they kept getting if not number ones, some of those singles would hit pretty high up there.
Yeah, they got good press there. They were consistently rated well on what was their I don't know. They would do national rankings of pop acts, and they were consistently, battling out with the Beatles near the top
unless
of those rankings. And
unless the entire crowd is just Paul McCartney being really, really excited.
Maybe. I don't know.
But they didn't. This album didn't even really come out in the U.S. until a bit later. So much so that they had to package it as Beach Boys 1969.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, no, it came out in 1970 as Live in London. They just reissued it in 1976
which is when
as
After
that
Endless
Beach Boys
Harmony.
69.
and kind of got.
So here's the thing, people. Glenn just discovered the Issues tab on Rate Your Music, and now he's getting utterly confused by it, and he's trying to act like he knows this stuff,
Back off.
but he's just clueless over there.
No, so my point being is that
Your point.
there is a bit of a nostalgia feel to this live recording because it didn't really get big until 76 in the U.S.
Maybe. I don't know that it even got big then. But,
Well,
I feel nostalgic for it because I was there. I was there when Mike Love made those comments. I was there.
I don't know that it was a big, record ever in its original showing or in its reissue in the United States. It's not a particularly common one that I find just going through, Beach Boys bins at record shops.
right.
But I don't know. It's a live album.
It's
for me, live albums are always kind of ho-hum, unless they're extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few examples of, just great live albums and some artists whose best work is live albums. But I don't think any of us are expecting that from the Beach Boys, especially given the fact that their previous live record, which we talked about several episodes back, the Beach Boys concert, that sucked.
Mm-hmm.
We were not fans of that one at all. Just a bunch of novelty songs and
Yeah. And just bad recordings.
Yeah,
too,
bad
like-
recordings and like augmented with studio overdubs, and it just not good. Not
Yeah.
Recording's much better on this one. I think I actually enjoy the musicality of it.
Yeah.
The addition, we've alluded to this brass section. I think right off the top we get the first track is Darlin'.
Yeah.
And the brass is awesome. I maybe
Oh, are we jumping in already?
Yeah, this is track one. We're looking at the A side.
Sick.
I mean, I think track one, Darlin', is this live version might even
It's a banger.
be better than the studio version.
It caught me off guard. I was just like, the way it comes in is so energetic, and it has this like forward momentum the entire time. It's insane. Like, it's infectious. The song is so good.
Yep.
And I agree, this might be as good, if not better, than the studio version.
There's a heft to it, and those horns really
Yes.
just jump on the live version. Dennis's
The
drums are solid.
so just pounding. It's
It's
so
a good. It's a good tempo. It's faster than the studio.
and
version of it.
that's a Carl vocal, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a
his
great-
vocal's great. His
a great
live vocal is
concert
good.
opener.
Great.
Great concert opener.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like realizing how good of a singer good Carl was.
Yeah.
Like,
They're like shot out of a cannon right off the bat.
It's
good.
great.
Really, really good. Which immediately establishes this as like, okay, I might have just underestimated the Beach Boys as a live act based on that disastrous 1964 album. Because like this is good. I fucking dig this. Yeah.
the momentum doesn't entirely continue though.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be nice?
Like I think the recording is nice. I hate the talking and then the name of the song is and then jumping into it. I'm not a fan of that. That's a little cheesy.
It's more than a little cheesy. And honestly, what's missing here? You miss Brian on all of these Pet Sounds songs. I mean,
It is a Pet Sound song, so we got Wouldn't Be Nice, but it is strangely fast.
It's really fast. It's only a minute and 45 seconds.
It feels too like rock or poppy. I wrote on my notes. I write, "Nice try though."
It's a valiant try. It's a valiant try. I just think it would have served. Wouldn't It Be Nice isn't the song for. I don't even know. A Sleep Drawn Beat probably would be the one of that album that would be good, and it's jumping ahead a little bit. It's fine on this, but like, yeah, Wouldn't It Be Nice kind of like doesn't kill the momentum, but they're playing it too fast.
So
You know?
So now to be fair though, they are in a live setting, so maybe they're feeding off the energy. I know, we've all played music live. You tend to sometimes get adrenaline pumping when you're on stage in front of people. You end up, playing things maybe a little too fast. And speaking of audience participation, I think that's a big part of what the Beach Boys are. There's this connection between the music and like the live audience. I think that's important. We talk about the whole bigger story about the Beach Boys, and part of the cultural phenomenon is there is this sense of like audience participating. Like there's so many bootlegs available, even with the the Smile session slowly released. You get all kinds of fans like adding their own take, and that's a big part of the fandom is like there's all these alternate fan versions, and we've even talked about putting our own kind of playlist together. Well, I've made my own version, my own fan alternate version of Live in London. That was one of the things I did this last week, and I've rearranged it so that every time Mike speaks, I replace it with that screaming goat. It significantly improves the recording.
fair enough.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So you expect the name of the song it's just screaming goat, and then the song plays.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great. It's a great alternate version.
I kind of like this version of Wouldn't It Be Nice, only because the outro where the horns come in, that's pretty cool. I mean, it brings it more to this level of, again, more of a kind of a rock song. It works fine.
it's an interesting take.
And I don't want to necessarily I don't know, do we have much to comment on a whole lot of specific songs here?
Yeah, I do.
Good. All right.
I mean, well, Sloop John B is great. Well, I mean,
I want to
it's
say
too fast.
somebody.
It's too fast.
I
It's
think Mike
rushed.
messes up a lyric
No,
in there.
a bonus. Well, bonus. This track, I did not have to put any screaming goats on it. There's no awkward Mike banter on this track. Most every other song requires some sort of editing to get rid of Mike. He does some stupid intro, some cracks some awkward joke. Most of these, like, you can just trim. Why? How did this not get mastered differently? How did they not, in the editing mastering of this, just like trim those god awful intros? And outros?
I think they trimmed something later on. Like, I think he legitimately said something like,
Did Mike Love say the N-word?
no, Jesus, no. There's like a, I don't know when it is. What
Because
song
he says
does
it in his autobiography. We've already
does.
established.
He
What?
does, yeah.
What song is he talking about? The cushions on the chairs.
Yeah,
or
there's
whatever?
some parts in here where he's
I know what it is.
unintelligible
I guess
and
we'll get there. I don't want to jump too ahead, but
Sloop
there's
John
definitely
B,
some.
I love that it's a Pet Sound song, but it's too fast. It doesn't quite work here.
Yeah.
And so maybe there is something to be said for the Mike Love recognizing that there's it's tough to do these songs. California Girls.
Do they cut that? Like,
The
do
intro
they
is short,
splice
yeah.
that intro?
I don't know that they splice it, but I think it's really that intro is so harmonically complex that they play like the first part and then they don't do like the modulation chord shift or whatever it is.
It's
in the
probably
second
really
half
hard
of
to
it,
do.
'cause
Yeah.
maybe it was like, oh well, Brian didn't tell us what the chords were here or whatever.
Right.
So
not
so they
gonna
do
fix
like
it.
kind of a fake of the intro and then they just
then
jump
just
right
go-
into the song
yeah,
and it's all a minute and 48 seconds. And it's fine.
But still, it's great.
fine.
If you just stick to the music, it's great.
I don't like that they change it to. I wish all like you could be California girls. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
Instead of I wish they all could be California. They go, I wish you could, or I wish you all could be. It's
Way to
creepy.
make those English birds feel,
Well, it's
less
just
valued.
it's creepy.
Yeah, and they're
leads
trying
into where
they're
it's
trying to
going.
like play to the audience, but it's just it comes off.
It comes off as really creepy.
Here's the note I have for "Do It Again," track 5 here.
Do we have to?
My note is "Shut up, Mike."
Yeah.
I like the brass here. It feels like they're additional voices, like when they have the harmonies. Again, I like the song "Do It Again." If we can erase the context, and if I can get rid of Mike blathering
As a
on
person, just
as a
in
human.
general.
Yeah, just
And
eliminate him
I
from
don't
this.
have to be distracted by that, and I can just focus on the music. The brass does this great like interchange. There's points where you're like, are those voices? Is that brass? Is it both? It is.
It's peppy too.
Yeah, it's
I like
great.
it. Yeah.
I just thought of a question about Do It Again. Would you like Do It Again more if Surf's Up was the last Beach Boys album?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
Sorry,
Right.
I know
Anyway,
that's off topic,
track
but
6.
just curious. Like,
Track 6, "Wake the World."
I like this version of Wake the World. I like it.
I like it, but there's
Mm-hmm.
some uncomfortable screaming the entire time.
But
I
whatever.
don't know what that is.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, I think this is really kind of an underrated song, period, for them.
Yeah.
And this one adds like another extra take of the chorus, I want to say, to it as well, too, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I like it. I like that they're acknowledging a Friends song. Like,
Yes.
hey, here's this album that debuted at 127 or whatever, but we're gonna play something from it anyway.
And again, I
Friends is great.
like that this is it's an ambitious song to attempt to do live, and I appreciate that.
This is our song from our album.
This is in record business talk. The
Oh my
flip
god,
side.
I hate that.
So
Flip
condescending.
Flip
what
side,
we
dude.
call
This is
the
what in-
flip side.
I seriously, I've been messing around with Adobe Audition. Like the little paint tool. You can like spectral analysis. You
Yeah.
can like spectral paint out. I think I could get rid of Mike's
I'm
voice and keep the.
a little.
I might have to. Get
I'm not
busy with
remembering
that
things
this week.
right, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm just really distraught and worried about Tim. We did already do a version of an episode of Heroes and Villains, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
once again.
I feel like maybe we need to do a second one just because Mike loved it.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
so the last track on the first side, Aren't You Glad?
Opens with the infamous pin cushion. Comfortable.
Again.
Comfortable.
Shut up, Mike. Just
Comfortable. I can't even do it.
Again, more great brass. I dig it. I love
good.
the recording. If I could just start like
Carl
14
kills it.
seconds in and just get rid of that stupid opening stuff and closing stuff, then I don't have to feel so cringy and embarrassed.
Gross for listening
and
to
gross,
it. Yeah.
and I can just like enjoy the music. Aren't you glad that we now have technology that can cut out Mike's voice?
And aren't you glad that, unless anyone has anything else to say, had to break?
I'm not glad that the players were uncredited. I want to know.
Yeah,
who
I'm not glad about
this
that
brass
either.
is. Like, I want to know: are they
Best part.
sessioners? Did they like just jump in? Did somebody hand them charts? Did Brian write charts?
Random from the crowd. They're like, hey, can someone play
Anybody
trumpet
plays
on
trumpet?
this?
Here are some parts Brian wrote up for us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are they British? Are they American? Are they...
We do need to take a break though. There's some stuff on side 2. Let's talk about side 2 when we come back.
Doing my job for me, Glenn.
You know.
And welcome back. We are now talking about side B of Beach Boys Live in London. And opening with a horrible rendition of a bad song,
It still sucks.
Bluebirds Over the Mountain. I hate it.
The guitar that I hated on the studio version is still here, and it's even worse. On
It's
this one.
awful.
Yeah.
I don't have anything
That
else to say
tone
about
is just
that.
terrible.
I
It
don't
sucks.
mind.
If they wanted
Like
an
they
now,
airlifted that tone from the 80s with some sort of crap solid state amp and a
if they wanted,
Ibanez guitar or something.
if they wanted an Al song, just do Help Me Rhonda.
Yeah, I felt like
But he wasn't singing that sexy enough.
Oh God, I would rather.
I can never listen
would-
to Help Me Rhonda again.
I would rather listen to this album with the Mike Love stuff replaced with Murray Wilson in that track than the original version of this album with the Mike Love shit.
you don't like my Screaming Goat edit.
Well, I like that too, but I just think with the Murray Wilson it'd
Sing
be a
it
little
sexy.
funnier.
Sing it sexier.
It'd be less creepy.
So I don't mind Bluebirds Over the Mountains, the studio version.
It stinks.
But this is even worse. This is bad. It's just, it feels rushed. It just doesn't gel. It's not it's not there.
It's a
I
bad
will
song
say,
from a cursed album.
This is where Daryl
Yeah.
Dragon shows up. He's in London.
Yeah,
the
let's
captain
go
is
Dragon.
here.
Breathing Fire.
Breathing
The
Fire
captain.
comes in strong. The captain. Here's my note.
Do you think the captain knows the maestro?
Did the maestro tell you to put the bomb on?
The note I wrote on this is "Cállate la boca, Miguel," which translates to "Shut up, Mike," because he tries to speak in Spanish for some
Oh, I
reason.
forgot about
that's
that.
At the
right.
beginning of this track,
He could have at least said sus noches.
right?
All right. Moving on. Their hearts are full of spring. This is where he makes this stupid joke about them doing it nude, which is just creepy.
It
'cause
ruins it.
It's like a bunch of 13-year-old girls there.
Oh, sorry, I lost my head.
And still smug
and he keeps
and
saying I lost my
patronizing.
head too. Like, shut up, Mike.
And
shut
still,
up.
And still patronizing, like we don't know what acapella means.
Yeah.
Like
you just want to grab him by the neck and shake him and
For whatever reason, when he would say that, I pictured, in Karma Police, when he says, "For a minute there, I lost myself." There's picture Mike Love singing, "For a minute there, I lost my head." It kind of like ruined Karma Police for a little bit for me.
This is also where my editing is tricky, because at the end you've got Carl like genuinely saying thank you.
Yeah.
But then there's overlapping Mike like saying thank you. Like his thank yous are just like grating and just like
Carl
yes,
feels
I'm
so,
awesome. He's all genuine. So like that's where it gets tricky. I'm trying to figure
Carl
out how to
feels all
edit out.
shy, and it's like, it's sad.
I just want to hang out with him, but yeah.
all right. Good vibrations.
It would be good if it weren't for the fucking Mike jackassery.
When it gets down to just the organ part. Yeah. What is it?
Oh, that's right. In the middle.
Beloved.
He's like, hey, ooh, different tempo here for those of you peasants who don't know or understand.
Maybe I should define tempo for you.
A tempo shift.
Wait, does Tim have notes for all of these?
Ooh, there's an organ here. That kind of sounds
Tim
like
is
a
ripped.
funeral. Huh? Dearly beloved.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I hate that so much. That genuinely pissed me off. And his whole like, oh, you guys will know this one. It was number one over here. I think he hates that song. Like,
no, I think he's proud of it. He thinks he
loves
wrote
any
it.
song that made him a lot of money.
He thinks he wrote it, and he's like showing off. He's like brushing dust off his shoulder, like, "Yeah, look at me, I'm hot shit." Like this is
he's
so
what?
obnoxious.
Nothing.
He's a hot Carl.
yeah.
Is what
Yeah,
he is.
God. No, it's
King shit in
Other
the
than
Golden
that,
Boys.
Again, which
It's
is
really
why I
great.
need to get my edit going to remove Mike, because this would be a great version, a live version of Good Vibrations.
Like, I really like the. I've always liked this part in the studio version, and this part, the I don't know where, but she sends me there. Like that whole part's amazing. I was surprised at how actually like good the harmonies hold up for a lot of these songs.
It's an ambitious song to like take on live, and they do well with it. It's just you got this jackass who
Also, I
shut up
don't
in the
remember.
middle.
I don't remember hearing the theremin at all.
Oh, it's in there.
Oh,
in
it
there,
is?
yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is the part that Mike ruins, it feels like he's apologizing for it.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, oh, this is where it gets weird.
You
Sorry,
can't
you guys
dance
might not
anymore."
get this. I'm gonna
And
yuck
it's
it
like
up.
the most important, like one of the reasons that song is so impactful is you
It's-
have to have it cut out
seriously.
like that. You have to
And
have it
yet
build
he-
up.
Yeah.
Oh my
Frustrating.
god! I just imagine like Brian hearing this because he probably had to like approve this or something to be released, and just being so fucking pissed off and just being like, "Why are you talking over my song like this?"
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I don't know if Brian really ever saw it as like my song or like his song, but like
100% is.
It is absolutely his song.
His ruining of it.
Yeah.
Is adding a word that is not even an English word. Like the excitations is his add to it, and it's like
I kind of like that word.
Moving on.
I kind of like.
I mean, God Only Knows is the next track, which is another great musically. If we can get freaking Mike to shut up.
Does he
He's
say
like,
anything in this one?
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, the weather's great. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I gotta wring it out of my
that.
socks."
Yeah,
and
that.
He like
But
totally,
the song itself.
But the song
he
itself.
totally insults them, and then he's like, "Let me play this song." And yeah, once Mike shuts up, it's
This
great.
song is amazing. This recording is so good.
It is a really good one. Carl sounds great. on it.
They do the. There's another musical thing that they change up a little bit. It's the
bridge.
the dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. They changed that a little bit because
sort of
again, I don't think
syncopated
they could have done that live.
But it's still great because the song is still there.
It's still it's still fucking God only knows. So
Yeah, Dennis isn't Hal Blaine, so it doesn't have quite that same kind of like, I don't know.
it doesn't have the kind
nuance
of
to it. It's a little more heavy-handed, but it's still just such a great song that it's great. It's a really, really good version of it.
It's the one where it's like I wouldn't be mad if I heard it. Like it's about as good as it could have been live, I think, probably without flying Hal Blaine out there and doing the drums for it and stuff. Like I would have liked hearing some of the actual Brian high harmonies in that because they really make that harmony stuff at the end of it especially, but That's the thing I think is missing. Really, is when
that
people
just
try to
shows
do
how many-
when
that just
people
shows how
try to
many
do the
beautiful-
high harmonies, it's just like it's good. And I don't know, was it Bruce who's doing those high harmonies then, or like he does a fine job? I guess
Right.
it's just like I don't know. It's not
Brian.
It's not Brian,
But it's still a really, really good version.
yeah, it's really good.
All right,
And then they end
closing
with
track.
Barbara Ann.
I think this actually is a great closer.
It is.
It's a good
It's a
closer.
little bit weird coming right after God Only Knows
It
and
is.
Vibrations because you have like their
It's an
back-to-back
encore, though.
masterpieces, and now here's this sort of goofy song, but it works well as an encore. Yeah.
But that's my point. It's an encore. It's fine. It gets everybody up. They're clapping.
But
Granted,
it's the audience perspiration.
participation. Oh, what
Shut
an
up,
idiot.
Ryan.
Just
Shut
play the
up.
song.
I kind of wish that they had ended with like Wild Honey or something. Like Wild Honey would
No,
have been a
Barbara
really
Ann is
interesting.
perfect. It's great. Everybody's up
I
there
don't
clapping.
know.
It's
I
it's
just
great.
like I think Wild Honey would have been such an interesting song to end on, and you can still, if Mike Love wanted to be creepy, you still get the creep on for that one. But like, I don't know.
I love it. I think it's a great song selection. All this album needs is my little editing tool, Screaming Goat. Remove Mike, and this would be a perfect live album.
I still think it's
it's-
far from perfect.
Yeah, I mean it's good, but it's not an all timer, but it's good.
60s live albums are hard, but even in that, this isn't the best one. So
No, I mean I'm not gonna. It's not gonna find its way into the upper echelon of like
Before
at
his
Folsom Prison.
it's not
and
Folsom
Well,
Prison
sure,
or
sure.
the like
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Hendrix
the
ones.
Royal Albert
right,
Hall,
and it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have any of that significance, cultural significance.
But
I'm
I
just
want
saying
it
for the
to.
sake
It's-
of the songs and the sake of we want the story to be different. We want Brian to be well, but just for the sake of the songs being produced live and the sound of them and the recording of them, I love it. I would
just-
totally listen to this.
Yeah, it's
Enjoyably.
just the tragedy of a band like the Beach Boys, and it's a tragedy that they kind of share with the Beatles. Is like there's not a good Beatles live album. There's never going to be a good Beatles live album. There's not going to be like a great Beach Boys live album.
I think this was very close. That's
It's
my
close.
point.
It's close, but it's just like still there's something about some of the performances that are a little off, and like obviously you're gonna want to hear Brian there, and
true.
he's not gonna
No,
be there.
Yeah,
like,
I get it. I mean,
it's
wouldn't it be
frustrating,
nice if John
but
B are brutal and Blue Boards of the Ocean is
yeah, or
is rough.
if they
Yeah.
cut that song
right.
again, even
maybe
if
put
Brian
in-
wasn't there, I don't know. Put in Wild Honey. Put in.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
do
think
something weird. Like I just wish they went weirder. Like imagine hearing like "Let the Wind Blow" or something like
they
that.
go
like
far enough
or
out
Little
there.
Bird. Like yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could use a Dennis song.
They go far enough out there that I think this still tells the story that the Beach Boys are Brian in the studio and his songs on the road.
the
Yeah.
beach in the studio and the boys on the road.
They should have.
Hey, I'm curious. Before his untimely death, what did Tim have to say about this album? How did he rate it?
I'm trying to communicate with him right now via the dead to get his rating.
Didn't he submit his
I
rating?
you
believe.
imagine
Hold on,
that?
hold on. I'm getting something here. He is telling me. He's wrong, but the ghost of Tim is telling me that this is a Wilson Phillips.
Oh,
That's rough.
brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal. He's wrong. I miss Tim. Miss him dearly, but
That is rough.
if those are the kind of takes he would have kept bringing to the show,
Well, you know what though? To honor Tim's memory, I mean, if for the banter alone, I might get down there. I could see it.
I tried to rate it not based on the banter.
Well,
Like,
if you rate it not based on the banter, I could give it a Carl.
I gave it an Al.
I want to give it a cold Al. How are we using
As
this? Is
opposed
it
to a
soft
hard-
Al?
A hard Bruce, a hard
Flaccid Al?
Johnson.
What is the
Oh,
what is the terminology we're using for this?
I don't know.
Just pick one of the names.
I'm gonna do Al.
An Al's a 3.5.
Yeah.
A Bruce is a 3. I'll give it an Al. I'll give it an Al.
If they could do kind of what they did with Beach Boys Party and like, hey, we're just going to present the stuff as recorded and not have this jackass yammering about in between all the songs, I could see maybe it going to a Carl. But all right, hey, let's take one last quick break and we will be back to wrap it up. All right, that is it for this week. And as always, thank you for listening. And make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, check out all that great content on strangecurrenciesmusic.com.
Tim
Find
and
us
Tim's family, in lieu of flowers, would like you to click on Instagram. Go to Talkin'
Beach Boys.
on Instagram.
Yeah. No flowers.
No flowers.
Tim, we miss you.
Yeah.
Come back, Tim.
Thanks for joining us this time. We'll catch you next time.
Later.
Later.